Hey, it's Amy Scott Grant. They call me the spiritual ass kicker. And I'm here today to answer a question I received that was a really good question about the pendulum that you might have this question too. So I thought it'd be quick and easy to answer it in a video. So her question is, can the pendulum give me answers that would trouble me or make me feel really bad? Or is it that this kind of answer would mean I wasn't connected to my higher self? And then when I wrote her back and said, this is such a good question, I know others would benefit. Plus, it's not like a quick answer to type out. I'll shoot a short video to answer it and send you the link when it's done. She said, I tend to believe that God, parentheses, higher self, is like humans, that the higher self can contradict himself. According to some videos on pendulum technique, the higher self is perfection. God doesn't play games like some humans. I made many mistakes with the pendulum, like not enough preparation, going too fast, etc. Okay, so go back to your original question and then I'll address the other stuff. Can the pendulum give me answers that would trouble me or make me feel really bad? Yeah. Can't a best friend give you news that could trouble you or make you feel really bad? Can't like the person that you adore more than anyone else in the world give you some news that might trouble you or make you feel really bad? Yeah. I mean, that's part of life, and I would say how bad you feel depends on how attached you were to having a different answer or outcome. For example, let's say that here's a pendulum I happen to have nearby with a little key and some very sparkly beads. I like sparkly beads in my pendulum. Can you see that? Anyway, let's say that someone you love gets really sick and you use the pendulum to check in to see, let's say that the doctor thinks it's a certain diagnosis, but they're going to do some testing to check and see. Okay. So you might use your pendulum to ask a question like, all things considered, is it true and accurate that so-and-so symptoms are like the underlying cause for so-and-so symptoms is, I don't know, insert disease in question. Okay. If you check in and get yes, you're probably going to be really upset by that information, right? That doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the pendulum itself, but the news itself can be very upsetting. So to answer your original question, I would say yes, it's definitely possible to get news or information that is upsetting. Now, the second part of your question says, or is it that this kind of answer would mean that I wasn't connected to my higher self? Well, I think you can be connected to your higher self and get bad news and still feel crappy about it. Right? I mean, I think that's true for any of us. Like if we get bad news, we're not like, yay, awesome, Uncle so-and-so has cancer. No, that doesn't happen. You're like, what? That's terrible. That's very human to like have a reaction, have a response. Now, I do feel like you sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes when you get bad news, you can connect with your higher self. And I'm sorry, I don't know why the lighting is like changing like this. It's probably a little bit annoying for you. I think we're hitting a little twilight outside, sort of, and that's like adjusting the lighting, which is making it kind of weird. So I apologize for that. Not really anything I can do about it, but I am sorry that you're experiencing it. No, you're not gonna be happy if you get bad news. That's normal. That you need to sort of process through that bad news, right? And I do feel like connecting with your higher self sometimes can help you maybe understand the bigger picture or see the silver lining in it. But not always, frankly, because some bad news is just super crappy bad news, right? Then below, when you said, I tend to believe that God, higher self, is like humans, that the higher self can contradict himself. That has not been my experience at all. I have not at all seen or experienced a connection to the higher self that contradicted itself. Sometimes the interpretation of that can be off. And if we're asking about predictions, for example, in the earlier example, is Uncle so-and-so going to die from such and such disease? That's a prediction, right? So it may be true in 1 minute and true and not true in the next minute because things could change. Uncle so-and-so could clear the underlying cause of the belief that's causing his condition, or a new cure or treatment could be found, or perhaps we find out we caught it early enough because he didn't delay in going to the doctor. I don't know. There's like a lot of different scenarios that could play out, right? So I have not for myself or any of my clients experienced where the higher self has contradicted itself or been erroneous. No. It's usually what happens when we get an erroneous answer with the pendulum. Either we were asking a question improperly, which happens a lot, which is why I go into a lot of detail on exactly how to phrase questions so that you get really high quality answers in Pendulum Mojo, right? So either we haven't asked the question properly, or we had bias or attachment to the outcome. Like we wanted it. We don't want Uncle so-and-so to have cancer, right? So we're like, you know, okay, let me check in and see if he has cancer. Please be no, please be no, please be no, please be no. Right? It's going to swing no if we have like a strong bias or attachment to no. So, and then if we get the test results out and find out it's yes, we're like, what? No, the pendulum lied to me. It said no, and the answer was yes. Did it really say no, or did you have really strong attachment? And again, I talk about all this in Pendulum Mojo, right? You could use third-party verification. There's ways around your attachment and bias. There's ways to figure out if bias is present and influencing your answer and stuff like that. So anyway, for Denise, that was Denise who asked those questions. Thank you so much for asking those. I hope that answers your question. And if you're watching this video, I hope that cleared up some things for you as well. And if you have a burning question, you can send it to me at ask@askingmeanything.com, and I'll see if it's a question I feel like a lot of people could benefit from. Maybe we'll shoot a quick video, or come and join me on Patreon, right? Because that's where the real party is going on, and things are heating up, and that community is definitely, let's say that community is rapidly advancing in terms of awareness and shifts. So I will see you over there. Bye.